everyone, Darren Hunter here. Before we get into the podcast, I just want to do a quick shout out for BMT tax depreciation reports. Now, for my 2 rental properties, I've had a BMT tax depreciation report done on those. And at tax time, I can get up to $25,000 worth of tax deductions. And that's a lot of money. And for your property owners, would you believe a lot of them don't know the savings that they can be getting? And every rental property can still have some type of tax depreciation. So get in contact with the guys at BMT, talk to them about how you as a property manager and a property management agency can be serving your clients in Australia about getting the maximum tax deductions for their rental properties. Take care. Hi everyone, Darren Hunter here from Inspired Growth Training. I have with me, of course, the one, the only Deniz, Yusuf, and this is the PM Growth Expert Show. Of course, the audio version you can get on Spotify, iTunes podcast. This is the video interview, and we have wonderful, awesome, very special guests.
Royalty.
Very close to our heart. We have Sally Lawson and Kate Gregory from the UK, and these guys are, you could say, us in the UK. They are the leading property management trainers and consultants and superheroes with amazing superpowers that just dominate the training market in the UK. So, and I very much, look up to these ladies. We'll talk about that in a sec, but also we've just released a free guide on the 10 best responses you can give any property owner. If they throw at you, well, if you can manage, match the fee with the other agent down the road, or the other agent is cheaper, or why are you charging this fee? We got the best 10 scripts that we've ever come across from our global search and what we've used in the past ourselves. Just go to pmgrowthexperts.com. That's pmgrowthexperts.com. Download that guide there and get those scripts underway. Now, just before I hand the reins to Deniz, who's going to bring Kate and Sally in, I first met Kate and Sally. Now, Deniz and Michael met them when they went to the Agent Rainmaker conference. They flew all the way to London. If you remember some of their social media posts going to London, and Andrew Reese was there as well, famous Andrew Reese. I was able to catch up with Sally and Kate at the Funnel Hackers Live conference, or the ClickFunnels conference, which is, ClickFunnels is how would you describe what ClickFunnels is, Sally? It's like, it's a mystery to a lot of people. It's like secret code, but you've got your award there just over your shoulder, which is like, for me, it's like, oh my goodness, she's ClickFunnels queen. You need to get a high level of success with ClickFunnels to get that on your wall. So what's ClickFunnels, Sally?
ClickFunnels is like a mecca for online marketeers. It's like where they all come together and they share ideas about how to convert leads online, generate, we call it an avalanche of leads, not just 2 or 3 leads, but like hundreds of leads. But not only just to generate leads, but also it helps you convert those leads as well, using many, many strategies and techniques. So we're fans, Darren, aren't we? We're big fans.
So if you go to pmgrowthexperts.com, you'll land on that page. That is a ClickFunnels page. If you've gone and got my time management book, that goes through a funnel, which is a sales funnel. If you get the PM30 secrets, that's a sales funnel. So that's actually what ClickFunnels is a software program that houses and hosts a many different variety of sales pages, whether it's events or lead pages, which is very much what Sally and Kate will no doubt talk about today. They're very, very good at setting up lead pages as well. But I'm not going to say any more. As I said, I met these ladies in Nashville at the ClickFunnels conference. But Deniz, I want to hand things over to you before we go through our first Grow 100 challenge, which is 3 strategies to grow 100 properties in a year. But before we get started, Deniz.
Yeah, thanks, Darren. And Sally and Kate, how awesome is it to have you two both here? Guys, everyone listening, you know the energy that Darren, Michael, and myself have. Well, Michael and I, we went to the Agent Rainmaker event last year, and Michael and I were always looking at going to conferences and events so we can. I was going for 2 things. One, looking at how a conference is run, to take some ideas away, always bringing it back to ours, and to see if the UK was doing anything that Australia's not doing, because we're always looking to see what's the best and what's available. And we thought we would go in stealth mode. We weren't going to tell everyone who we are. We just wanted to turn up. And the registration day, you know, we saved Darren £20 and we nearly killed ourselves crossing the freeways and walking from somewhere to another. Yep, and baby Darren came along as well. But we got there, and I remember Kate running up to us, oh, the Aussies are here, blah, 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 blah. You know, thinking we were going in quiet, but you guys knew who we were. And but our energy straight away, there was some great synergy, which was awesome. And your event, I've got to say, I felt like I was at one of our own conferences with the culture, the cult-like culture, etc. And it was amazing. It was great to be part of, and it was awesome to see so much energy at an event outside of Australia, because we've been to so many, you know, around the globe. So it was awesome to see that. So that's how we met, and we haven't been able to, you know, we haven't stopped. We've also you know, got you guys on to a webinar, and we obviously want to have you guys come to Australia to a conference, and vice versa. But COVID got in the way, right? You know, so that's what happens. So that's how we met, which is it's just exciting. And Darren, a great way of putting it, very similar to what we do as well in a lot of aspects. It's like Guardians of the Galaxy have come and met, you know, the Australian.
Let's just talk about how scarce this meeting really is, because as a fee maximization expert, I've been doing it 20 years now. That is my global reputation, along with being a PM nuts and bolts trainer, time management, that sort of thing. You know, Sally is another fee maximization expert. So I actually thought I was probably the only creature on the planet. There's actually two.
I remember you saying that. I'm the only one, but now I'm not.
In the USA that's rising up and making waves and doing very well. So we're a very rare creature. And so it was a real privilege, not just from a fee maximization point of view, but from a marketer point of view, because I associate myself better with marketers, because that is my brain. I'm a marketing geek. And
Kate is the growth phoenix. Is that what you call it?
Yeah, that's my superpower name. Yeah, that's right.
There's so many synergies here that are similar to IGT. It's just bizarre.
It is.
But Deniz, I'm thinking it would be good. Sally, can you just talk a little bit about yourself and what your role is? And Kate, I would hate to get into the Grow 100 challenge and the 3 strategies you guys are going to talk about without, you know, you just sharing a little bit about you and, you know.
Okay, well, thank you for having me. First of all, both guys, you are always entertaining and always fun to speak to. I've been in agency for 30 years. So I started off as a real estate agent, letting and managing houses for over 30 years. We've let and managed over 10,000 units just from a single branch. But then in 2010, I had this crazy idea of let's franchise, and I launched a national franchise. Then I got invited onto the board of ARLA, which is the Association of Residential Letting Agents, which is the governing body for letting agents in the UK. So I spent quite a few years at the helm of that. And that was the light bulb moment for me. I'm sure, Darren, you had one similar in your history as well, when I suddenly realized that a lot of agents were struggling with some things that I knew the answer to. And I just thought, well, why are they struggling with that? And also when we looked out, we saw that there was nobody there really to help them. It's a bit like Bruce Willis in that Burning Inferno. Sometimes you realize you're that guy and you've actually got to do something about it. So I was huge on social media at the time. I'd already been sharing videos and all sorts of stuff, about 6 million reach. This was around 2015, I think. And so we decided to launch Agent Rainmaker. It was a different name then, but we launched the business of Agent Rainmaker to go around and help letting agents, first of all, get into profits and to grow their profits and to grow their businesses. And I'll be honest, both myself and Kate are absolutely blown away at the results. We've now helped agents generate over 23 million pounds in additional revenue. And that is certified, signed off, proven numbers, not just hearsay or figures plucked out the air. And that number is growing rapidly all of the time. And that's a figure that we calculated last year, because we haven't had Agent Maker Live. We haven't calculated the new figure because that's when the reports come in. So we know we're making massive waves here and changing the industry, and we love it. Every time we hear somebody say, I was £30,000 a year in loss every single year, but now I'm making 100 grand a year profit. My life's transformed. It's all because of you. That's what makes us feel good, and that's what gets us up in the morning to have calls with Australians and things like that and do all these crazy.
Put up with COVID. I mean, you guys are really leading the charge there to say, hey guys, look, okay, it's tough, but let's make the most of it. And this is how we're going to do it. So you really are that sharp end of the spear and giving people that hope about, hey, look, the world's changed and let's change and let's just make the most of it. And let's just move online and adapt to these new conditions. And you guys have really led the charge very well.
But it's also about making it fun as well. And I would imagine, Deniz, when you came over to Agent Maker Live, you were imagining quite a stuffy, stiff English event.
Posh, cup of tea.
Yeah, it's lovely. It would like a cup of tea.
I would imagine it.
But no, we're actually really quite loud. And t-shirt guns. Kate was there with a t-shirt gun. We were doing salsa dancing on stage. We were just like, yeah, people were holding hands and jumping. You know, we're very American in style, and that's a little bit of a shock to the English people, but we actually quite like that. So that's it. So that's me. Kate's joined us a couple of years ago. I'll let Kate introduce herself.
So hi, thank you again. Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure. I have been in the industry about 20 years now, nearly. I started out as an agent in London, predominantly sales, and then started working for an international property company over in Switzerland and France, selling ski developments and land developments and skiing for a living, which was pretty cool. And then I worked as a realtor in Vancouver for Sotheby's for 3 years. So I kind of have an idea of, because obviously the way the UK run their industry is different to the way that you guys over in America and Australia and everything, you know, the way the industry's run. So I've seen it from the other side, and coming back over here and running 2 branches in the UK, having worked over there, I tell you what, it's very, very frustrating, because, you know, I think in Britain we are second to, there's politicians, policemen, and then estate agents in terms of what the public expectations of us are, which is just dreadful. We all know how important this industry is, how much work we put in, how people's safety and livelihood and things like that are on the line. And it's very, very frustrating, having seen the way you're appreciated in countries and obviously get paid as such, to be over here where we fight for every penny, it would seem, all the time. So having come over here, I actually came on one of Agent Rainmaker's courses as an agent to learn a bit more about getting my business up to scratch in terms of lettings, and just fell in love with Sally and begged her for a job. And it was really weird. It was something that I just saw, and I know it sounds very weird and culty and hippie and strange, but I saw my path, and that was where I had to go, and that was my journey. And we've been, you know, here in love with each other ever since, so haven't we? You know, that's in it.
Really?
So how long
yeah, now
so
about 2 years, just shy of 2 years.
I would have thought 10, 15 years, the relationship and the time. So that speaks volumes. It really does.
Yeah, we love it. I mean, I absolutely love what we do now. And you know, you say it's been a tough year, and you know, I'm sure we'll touch on that, but it has been a tough year. But, you know, you get a phone call from an agent that you haven't spoken to maybe in 12, 18 months. And someone rang me up a few weeks ago and just said, you know I haven't spoken to you or touched base, but this is what we've been doing. And we owe it all to Agent Rainmaker. We wouldn't be where we are now. And we want to say thank you. And we want to, what do you need? Do you need a testimonial? What can we do for you? Because we owe you where we are now. And it's like those bits that remind you of what you're doing and why you struggle through the bad days, or, you know, that kind of thing, because we're changing lives, guys. We're changing lives, and that's something really special.
There is a buzz about getting those calls from people like Sally. You know, you said getting up in the morning and you get that email, you get that phone call, whatever it is. You know, because it's about helping and educating people, because in essence, they're doing the same for their clients. So they're getting that same buzz back as well. So it just creates such a happy culture within a real estate office and, you know, the trainers. And it really keeps you going. It's motivating, which is awesome. So, and now you guys are obviously, you know, training lots of agencies over the UK and beyond as well, which is absolutely awesome. And it's just nothing better than helping people be better at what they're doing. You know, it's awesome. So can I ask, so we've got a little bit of background for you there, Kate, but I want to know, Sally, why real estate? How were you at school? 16, 15 years of age, and you just went, I want to get into real estate?
You really want to know?
I do.
You
Does
didn't tell
anyone
me to ask
think
you
like
that.
that? I don't think anyone says that, do they?
Not in this country, nobody thinks like that. No.
They
I'll tell you
don't think it in Australia, New Zealand, or America either. Okay, there's a minute. There's one girl I'm training in Melbourne. She said, I did real estate as my careers day, and then I got into reception when I hadn't even finished school, and now we're training her. So there's the odd person, but it's very rare.
Yeah, mine's not as glamorous as that. Okay, so awkward question time. Right, so anyway, I grew up in foster care. So at 16 years old, you're out. So I was living in rented accommodation and staying on people's sofas and things like that. But I was earning quite decent money as a salesperson. And I decided to, at the tender age of 17, decided to buy a flat. But of course, I wasn't allowed to sign the paperwork until my 18th birthday. So on my 18th birthday, I trundled into Prudential estate agents as was, and I signed the paperwork on my first flat. This was 1989, in the middle of the interest rate rise where it went up to 14 and 15% as I was signing the dotted line, and got myself the keys to a wonderful flat in a place called, you've probably heard of it, called Dudley. Have you heard of Dudley? Or Dudley, as they say? No, you wouldn't have heard of it. Anyway, it's a bit of a...
Not for you, Deniz. It's not for you.
Dudley, yeah, all right, mate. Anyway, so I got these keys to this flat, and well, very quickly, I realised... Okay, I'll tell you the story. I realised I was living next door to a very noisy prostitute who was making noises all night, every night, driving me mad. And the walls were paper thin. I just couldn't stand it anymore. So I did what any self-respecting landlord would do. I decided to rent it out. So I called in the letting agent. So the letting agent turned up and spent all 2.4 seconds looking around my tiny little studio flat. And I thought, what a cool job, going around looking around people's houses all the time. I said, have you got any jobs going? Yeah, we have actually. Anyway, that was it. I was in. So I ended up working for this letting agent in central Birmingham, rented my flat out, as you do, to a nice young lad who had a very interesting 6 months, apparently, but that's another story. So anyway, I then got a job at this letting agency, and very quickly realised these guys were not the best. They were just dodgy. And I thought, hey, this doesn't look that complicated. Maybe I should set one up on my own. And so I did. 18 years old, you know what it's like. You know everything, don't you, Darren? You know, 18 years old, you can't tell yourself anything. This is easy. I can do this. Off I went and set up my own letting agency from my kitchen table.
18, oh goodness me. I was a struggling property manager at 18, thinking, you know, I was crazy even getting into the job. So that's amazing. I mean,
I was still at school.
Yeah, me too.
What can I say? Anyway,
not that it helped me.
I'm probably 1 year ahead of you, Sally. So, yeah, let's move on. I want to just actually, before we move on, everybody, PM Growth Expert Show is really focused on interviewing the growth experts, but of course we've got our other podcast, BDM Coach, where we get our coaches, super coaches, Deniz and Michael, just going through good training. So if you're a BDM, you manage a BDM, or you're thinking about hiring one, listen to that podcast. Just go to BDM Coach podcast show, Spotify, iTunes, Podbean, and have a listen to that really good training. So guys, I just want to now just move to really what our audience is wanting to hear. And this is our very first show where we're going to do a Grow 100 challenge. It's very simple. You have to grow from scratch for whatever reason. You're back to zero properties again. You really probably got no money or very minimal budget, just in case some things need to be purchased. So with that starting line foundation, which is very difficult, and with what you now know, so with the knowledge that you have, which is worth so much, bringing that in only as your tools, what three things would you use with what you now know to grow 100 properties in the next 12 months, given those circumstances?
Oh, well, I'll go first, and Kate, you can do the second one then. The first thing I would do, the absolute first thing I would do, and I do this with the knowledge that I have now, and I did not have this knowledge. In fact, this thing didn't exist 30 years ago. What I would do right now is I would actually start running some webinars, because we've identified that webinars is the #1 way to get landlord data. So it's a great data capture tool. It's the fastest growing data capture tool that we know at the moment. And when we run a webinar with minimum spend on Facebook ads, literally literally a few pounds, not a huge amount of money, we're getting around 100 to 250 people joining that webinar. It's absolutely ridiculous. Now, you need to make the webinar educational. So education for landlords, you're not selling them anything, it's educational for landlords. But what you are going to offer them is something free at the end, a downloaded guide, some information. But what we like to really do is offer them a scheduled call where you can help them and serve them. And of course, that helping and serving at the end is where you can then convert them into valuation. So that's Darren, that's the first thing I would do. I'd start launching some webinars. I'd get out there on social media. I'd be talking all over the place. You know, I'd be doing Facebook Lives. I'd be doing top tips of the day. I'd be running a Facebook group. I'd just be all over the internet because, as you just said, I have no money. I have no properties. I have nothing. So I have got to fill this webinar with as little spend as possible. And that's going to mean one thing that all entrepreneurs understand is hard work. And so that's going to just mean getting out there and just being everywhere. And here's a line I use, Dan, which I find really, really useful. And I use this with my media guys when we're launching a new product or something. I say, what would you do? And they go, oh, well, we run some Facebook ads and we do a YouTube ad and we do whatever. I go, right, okay, your life depends on 250 people on this webinar. Now what would you do? And the truth comes out. And that's what I would say to myself. My life depends on this webinar, 250 people. What would I do? I'd be doing LinkedIn Lives, YouTube Live, Facebook Lives, Facebook groups. I'd be running ads if I had the money to do that, but you don't need to do that. I'd be on people's shows. I'd be getting people on my shows. I would be all over the internet. And that exactly is how I launched my business. This business here is exactly that. Not webinars that didn't exist at the time, but by exactly being absolutely everywhere all over social media. We call it omnipresence.
So this is a very passionate strategy of yours, and well done. And people go, whoa, a webinar, I couldn't do that. And I also want to use these PM growth experts podcast to with the Grow Challenge, you go where you can actually get these resources from. Guys, go to the inspiregrowthtraining.com website. If you're not a member yet, become an IGT exclusive member. Deniz, we just finished our 6-month answer to COVID in Australia, where we just came in and we did a 12-part series. We wrote it because of COVID. It's around about 14 hours. It's 12 sessions, Grow, Influence, Dominate. Session 4, we did how to do a virtual investor education evening on how to do using a webinar platform to bring in investors. And we covered a lot of that there. So people, and I don't want to take away from what you're saying, Sally, at all, but we have a great session in the IGT.
Just that one strategy was a 90-minute session, and I could talk about that. We actually, in our masterclass, it's a 3-hour training session on how to do them. It's my top 5 strategies, Sally. So I smile when I hear you say that. I love it. I think it's great, you know.
So people see the value in it now, don't they, as well, because of what's happened in the last year. I mean, we've always run them in our branches and recommended people run them, but as physical events. So we were running landlord evenings maybe once every couple of months and stuff, which was brilliant. You'd get 50, 60 people. And yes, you present and you get local, business people to obviously talk, IFAs, mortgage consultants, anyone like that. You get guest appearances. Brilliant. But, as soon as obviously COVID hit, we, as well as the rest of the world, were forced to pivot and rethink, and how are we going to do this now? And by putting that first one online, we were blown away, Sally, weren't we? I mean, we had 280 people or something on a rainy Wednesday evening logging in. I mean, we would just never get 280 people in a mediocre hotel in Wolverhampton. It just wouldn't happen. So, and
that's 280 landlords details you've got now as well.
Yeah, and that's the most amazing thing is that it's the data capture, because whenever you use some sort of webinar software, Webinar Jam is what we use. They are inputting their data before, even if they don't turn up, you've got their data and you're building that database. So it's just been phenomenal. It really has been.
Look, I love it, because one of the big things that we were pushing is everyone needs to build their online presence, because all of a sudden this telephone and laptops became the most viewed things in the world. And yes, Netflix and that did well, but so did the internet. TikTok grew, websites, everyone was on their devices. So you were mad if you did not get out there and do it electronically. So well done. Can I also say, these investor evenings that you can run, the webinars, etc. People have been doing them and doing them Facebook Live, right? Which is okay to do, but you're not capturing the data. You've just explained about capturing their data, because that is the key. You know,
you want a full
getting them to
registration
register.
system, and we did that, Deniz, with the Grow 100 Plus
Yeah.
last week. We've got there. Guys, if you want to, here's what you do, and here's a little secret, okay, everybody. If you want to capture their phone number and they're registering, and you know you want to get their name and so forth, but you want their mobile phone number, you just put in there, you know, need your mobile phone number in brackets so we can confirm your registration by SMS. You know, and we do use SMS. We use bulk SMS before events to remind people. It's for reminders. It's an SMS reminder. People are very happy to give that data there. Yeah, no, I think webinars is a great way to go. Again, people have questions. How am I going to fill it? But guys, once you just made a decision, I am going to do webinars, you will work it out and speak to the experts. You got Sally, you got Kate. And of course, us with our IGT exclusive membership training, it's all there as well on how to do it. It just, do you want to do it? And that strategy's there.
I heard a comment there last week, actually, on a film I was watching. It was all about the internet and how it's all taken over the world, and it was a documentary. And it was said that data is now more valuable than gold.
Wow, I never knew that, but it makes sense, doesn't it? Because we know the money's in the list. And
it is,
the list is everything. And so, and it certainly is for our business. We wouldn't survive if we didn't have the email database that we've got. Sally, no doubt your business is exactly the same. The database is everything, and maintaining it and always building it, because you've got that leakage happening all the time with people leaving, changing jobs, you know, bouncing, unsubscribes. It happens. So you've got to be filling it all the time. But the list really technically shouldn't cost too much to get started at all. So well done. All right, well, let's move on to strategy number 2. So that was number 1. I think that's really good, because a webinar, you know, there are free platforms out there. We use Zoom Webinar. We find it's a very stable, easy to use platform. You've also got GoToWebinar. You guys are using Webinar Jam. We used to use that. We did abandon it because we had some tech issues with it. But guys, there's a lot of, you know, there's even websites out there. If you just like what the 10 best webinar platforms to use, you'll get a whole list there with ratings and all of that. And
YouTube it, you can watch the demos. There's premium versions, you know.
Zoom is really good. It works like Zoom meeting. It's just that bit better for that. So, all right, guys. So that's strategy number 1. Well done. What would be strategy number 2 that you would be able to use to grow a goal of 100 properties from scratch with minimal to no budget?
So strategy number 2, we would recommend, and what we're certainly finding is happening in a lot in the world now, but the fastest way to go from 0 to 100 would be an acquisition. So an acquisition strategy. So what we're talking about here is taking over or consuming a portfolio from an agent who, for some reason or other, is struggling, isn't working, is a small fish in a bigger pond. So we're not talking about great big portfolio acquisitions of sort of 150 or above, because we all know that those ones, they're probably making money and they are going to want some money to obviously be acquired. So we're looking down the smaller pond, the people with maybe 50 or 100 properties. So we could do this, Darren, we could get you 100 straight away. We've already won. That's it. Move on. So what we're talking about here is, and we train this a lot in our training rooms, is acquiring with no money down. Now, this is something that people go, what do you mean? What are you talking about?
You caught our attention.
Yeah, and it is very controversial. And I'm thinking already there would be very small businesses that property management, they came up with the best of intentions. It's now become a thorn in their side. They realize they regret they should never have done this. You know, and they might have, in Australia, might be that 20 or 30 properties they've got on the side, and they really would now love to get rid of it.
Yeah, and it's usually the people, and we all know them, that have gone into this business because they love helping people and they love customer service, and they're the people that are over-serving their clients to the point where it's just literally sucking them dry. Because
they're too nice. I've seen people killing themselves because they were too nice, and their late rent figures were through the roof because they've got no idea about how to be tough on people.
Absolutely. And unfortunately, they're just on that, what Sally always refers to as the skint hamster wheel. So they can't get off, and it's going round and round and round. And every year it's just getting worse and worse and worse. And there is almost, seems like there's no way out for these people. And what we would, we teach and we train, but what I would do if it was me is I would be approaching these people and I would be offering them a way out. So if you look at something like a portfolio of maybe 50 properties or 30 or 50 properties, you could consume that, and probably if you were to start up on your own, you could consume that and manage that on your own without any additional costs than what you've got now, right? So you could take that on without costing you any money. Okay, but what you could say to that current agent is, okay, what are you getting from that 50 properties at the moment? Maybe 25k a year, 50k a year, something like that. Probably not enough. Absolutely not enough. And you could offer to pay them maybe $2,000 a month on a drip feed. So whatever you're making on the portfolio at the moment, you could offer them a monthly drip feed of the portfolio for maybe 2 or 3 years, whatever it works out at, whatever the figures are at. So they're probably earning nothing at the moment. We all know the ones that aren't paying themselves anything. They pay themselves last. There's no value on what they're doing at all.
They've done some
so
really
now
discounts, that sort of thing. They're just done crazy discounts and feeling sorry for themselves because they realize they cannot, run the business. It is not financially viable.
Absolutely. So you're giving them that little ray of hope of a decent monthly amount for their portfolio. You're taking that stress off them. You're giving them a way out. You're consuming it yourself at no extra cost, and you're giving them a decent monthly payment for that. They can then go and get another job. They then would be earning 2 amounts of wages. How happy are their husband or wife now? Suddenly the income in the house has tripled, but their liability's gone. The drag of the business is gone, and you've given them that way out. Now, we all know what we would then do is look at that portfolio. We would follow strategies that Darren and myself and Sally teach, which is, look at that portfolio and maximize the growth of it, the fees and the additionals and all of those kind of things. You're going to make money on that now. You are going to make money on that, something that they haven't been able to do, and you're ensuring them a monthly income. So there you go. I've got you 50 properties with no money down from a cold start.
So can I just ask a question? I want to jump in here.
Hi everyone, Michael from Teams by Design. We've just recently launched our after-hour phone service. What that means for you is we can now answer your phone calls from 5 p.m. Monday through Friday and all day Saturday and Sunday. We can help you with inquiries such as property inquiry, leasing inquiry, maintenance support, and new business inquiries. So please make sure you head to teamsbydesign.com, leave your information, we'll arrange a Zoom and catch up and show you how we can help you through this.
One of the things I do teach with fee maximization is you've got to only increase fees with those who are settled. They have a level of peace of mind because the peace of mind is the sticky stuff. So that's what sticks them to the agency. So where it does come unsticky is where they have become unsettled. And that is through 5 different things I teach. So first one is, if they've been with you less than 12 months, well, they're not sticky yet, they're not settled. Or if they're unhappy about something, we don't touch them. It could be negligence of experienced, or we've just had a bad tenant. Unfortunately, they're unsettled because of that. Another one is we have fixed term management agreements here in Australia in some states. So we're not going to touch them during that contracted period. Another one is where a property is becoming vacant. The tenant might be leaving, they are leaving, or they have left. So it's gone back into instability. The owner's stressed, got to pay the mortgage. So they're areas of instability. But the 5th one is an acquisition where they've gone from one agent to another, usually without choice. They're grumbling and complaining. I like John, I don't like you, and they just stay, but they're unsettled, and it takes time to bed them down. So I say, look, 12 months, leave them for 12 months. So in this case here, Kate, and I'm not here to pretend, it'd be good to hear another point of view because I've always stuck by that. What would you do in the first 12 months with it? Now, you guys are experts also with fees, so help me with that one.
Let me answer this one. So we've done dozens of these personally, and we've worked with our agents doing probably over 100 of these now in the last couple of years. There's a period for us, there's a period of 6 months, and I'll tell you the difference. when you're talking about acquiring a business, Darren, I would imagine you're talking about acquiring a well-run, well-organized portfolio from a good business that you've paid good money for.
About 10% of acquisitions are actually good. 90%
All
are
right.
a little bit bad, a lot bad, regret, never want to do it.
Acquisitions are the same reason in any country, I think.
Okay. So what we're talking here with the no money down strategy, you really are talking the worst of the worst. So the thing to caveat this is that there's going to be what we would call skeletons in the cupboard. Is that the right phrase over there? Does that work?
Yeah.
There's going to be things that are wrong. I'll give you an example of an exact acquisition I did. It was 47 properties. It was an agent in Newcastle. I walked in and there was a sign on the door saying, we'll let your house for £100 and 5% fees. I was like, ah. Anyway, I started chatting to this guy, and to cut a very long story short, we acquired his portfolio of 47 properties for free. No money, didn't even have to pay him anything at all, because 45 of them were in arrears.
Oh, so
now we are very good at arrears. So we worked that portfolio. We lost 2 landlords that were at 2% because we just said, we're not managing at 2%. You can go, you can pay more or you can go. So we lost those. We managed to get 40 of the ones that were in arrears in payment. Now we're very good at using the local benefit system. We're very good at getting, money where money is due. And we managed to turn that into a very, very nice, tidy portfolio, which we then turned into a branch. We then sold on. It's been sold on twice actually since then. So that was something we acquired for free. So imagine you're a landlord of that agent and you've not had any rent for 3 months. Then this Sally Lawson on the shiny white horse turns up and grabs your portfolio and gets all your money in. It's a different scenario. I'll give you another example. This was 66 units, and it was, how do I describe this? A rundown block of flats. So this block of flats it used to have drug dealers in the corridors and all sorts of weird stuff. And again, massive amounts of arrears. To cut a very long story short, exactly the same scenario again. We managed to get nearly all of those in payment and remove the tenants that shouldn't have been there and turn that entire portfolio. They thought we were like gods because we'd gone in there and totally transformed this portfolio. There's lesser scenarios as well where, because the business owner is stressed and stuff like that, we've done ones where just 30 or 40 properties, quite well run, but they're not answering the phone all the time. They haven't got out of hours calls. They haven't got an online login system. They're not getting regular statements. They get paid as and when someone gets paid. And you can go in and you provide excellent service, and basically they love you because of that. So when I say we're dealing with the bottom end of acquisitions, if you're going to go for the no money down strategy, you're rescuing people. And so you really are at the bottom end. And so my experience of this after doing so many is that the landlords love you. As long as you give good service, you have to give good service. You can't do this and give bad service. And converting
it. So that makes sense. So they're
proving themselves. They're proving themselves.
Yeah, and you also know that those landlords probably have other properties themselves that they might not be having managed already, or that they might have a brother or an uncle or a friend or a sister or whatever that also. So by doing that, good work within the first 6 months or the 12 months down, as you say, without going in and whacking the fees up, losing the whole lot, there's a lot that you can do to maximize that portfolio without being fee increases. So that's what I would do to start with, is be doing that, providing great service, getting all the skeletons out of the closet and getting it compliant and up to regs, and growing great service and chasing arrears, and then
prove your value,
speaking to them about other properties that they've got or other property people that they know, and proving your value in other ways. Absolutely.
You're rescuing landlords as well, not just the letting agent. You're rescuing the landlords. So, but you're right, do not increase the fees on day one. You have to leave it. There was one of our guys once who said, right, I'm increasing the fees on day one, and we're like, don't, Chris, don't do it. He did, and he lost about 25%.
You'll have bought nothing. You'll end up buying nothing. It'll be gone.
Yeah.
But what caught my attention there, Sally and Kate, you said that that you're approaching these people and all of a sudden they can go off and retire and earn an income, right? But I mean, surely that you're still approaching businesses that have a sales division as well, that might have a small portfolio that just grew because they sold it and said, please manage it. So, are you approaching companies like that as well?
For this strategy, they're not ideal. They're a little bit more savvy because they've got an income elsewhere. They're not in as much pain. They will want money for their portfolio. So they're not ideal for this strategy. Yep. Saying that, I did have one very large estate agent with actually an Australian style logo, but they were English, that actually gave me their portfolio because he just couldn't stand it so much. It was driving him that insane. He did give me the portfolio, just have it, just have it. It was a national estate agent. We broached into lettings. He actually came on one of my courses and he said, it's just too much, just have it. He just literally just gave them too much. No pennies passed, nothing.
So estate agents is to do the referral partnership option, because there are people who just do sales, as you say, that fallen into that lettings, because we know they go hand in hand. So you could offer to partner with an estate agent, and obviously, you know, referral fees are pretty meaty in this country. You know, you can get 25% for pretty much doing nothing. You know what I mean? So, you know, encouraging that partnership of, you know, guys, anything you get through that you sell, or vice versa, and work on a sort of a joint venture point of view. That does work.
Can I ask for the people in Australia, New Zealand, US, what's 25% of the letting fee, of the annual fee? Like, what are you thinking there?
Yeah.
It totally depends. It totally depends, and it works. There's a whole thing going on in the UK at the moment about transparency of referral fees, because we've not been very good at that as an industry as a whole. It totally depends, and you would work out what that would be, whether it would be an annual cost, whether it would be the upfront cost. It depends.
Sure. When we've done this in the past, we've basically paid 50% of the upfront fee. And then if you have a management agreement, you can actually say that out of the 10% that you're going to collect each month for the monthly management fee, I don't know what you call it over there, but the monthly property management fee, you could say, we give you a 2% retainer out of the monthly management fee. So they get 2% for doing nothing. You do everything, and just make sure that you're charging enough to cover what you need to get from it. And then you give them 50% of the upfront fee. So it depends how you're doing it, really. But
so they're just getting the percentage of the management fee, not the let fee, not the admin fee, not the marketing fee, etc.
If they're referring the deal to right at the front, I would pay them a percentage of the upfront fee. And then if you have an agreement with ongoing management, then you could pay them a small percentage. So they're getting like a monthly retainer from you every month, as a percentage of the management fee.
But like I say, I think typically in the UK as well, and Kate, you know, Sally, please correct me if I'm wrong, is that you guys have a lot more of a culture of all-inclusive management fees, so that, you know, 10, 15% all-inclusive, where we might have that some agencies offer it as an option, but it's a different structure. So guys, let's move on. That was a really good,
very good point.
This security thing that's just come on my screen. Okay, let's move on. This is really, really good. I think this is going to cause a lot of controversial chatter and conversation. I think it's great. It's something I've never heard of before. So a lot of people this is going to get their attention.
Darren's thinking.
I've already got my marketing lined up.
Darren's brain is ticking over the email.
People are going to go, what? Acquiring with no money down. I've got a list of this. Well, and people, you're listening to it. So the marketing worked. So, all right. So let's move on to strategy number 3.
Okay, right. So
what you know now to grow 100 properties with little to no budget.
Well, just before we went live, we were talking about letting only instructions. You said that in Australia, it's about 80% fully managed, 20% let only. So there is still a market.
20% of are managed by private owners. So there are some real estate agents out there that may do some letting onlys. It's in our culture. It's really not a big thing in New Zealand is, and also doing ad hoc services for private landlords is a big thing. United States, big private owner market in New Zealand, though it's shrinking smaller because of all the new legislation coming in. Landlords are going, oh, this is too hard. Let's give it to an agent. But different way it's received in different countries.
Well, that's probably why we have this as a strategy, because here in the UK, it used to be around 25% would choose letting only, and now it's about 50%. So there's actually a huge market here for us. However, I think even at 25%, there's still a market. So a lot of letting agents ignore the letting owner market. They're all chasing the fully managed landlord. So I see this as like a bloodbath. There's these fish swimming around in this sea that are the fully managed landlords, and everyone's chasing them, everyone's marketing to them, everybody wants them, and these let-only landlords over here are being completely ignored and left to their own devices. Now, as you've just said there, the legislation around letting properties across all countries is pretty horrendous. And I don't know what it's like over there, but here, most let-only landlords think they know all the 170 pieces of legislation they have to apply to, but they actually don't. And what we see when we talk to them, and I used to have fun with them in landlord seminars, and I'd have a room of 50 landlords, and I'd say, right, anybody who can name 7 pieces of legislation gets this bottle of champagne. Nobody would be able to answer it. They can't
That's so true.
7.
They got no idea.
No idea. And yet these are people that are owning multiple HMO properties, house share properties, which is the highest legislative environment in the country. And it's like, you're not crazy. Anyway, so my experience is that they think they know everything, but they don't. And the challenge we have is they're choosing to go let only, which is putting themselves at risk of fines, prosecutions, banning orders, criminal offences here in the UK. It'd be different in other countries, but also they're putting their tenants at risk. The amount of times we've had to argue with landlords to fit smoke alarms and things like that, it's just crazy. And so for me, one of the things I'm banging the drum about, and we have been for the last 18 months now, is this let-only market it's a nice blue ocean. You've got this bloodbath over here of all the 67 letting agents in every town chasing these few fully managed landlords. And then you've got this blue sea ocean over here of all these let-only landlords, and no one's talking to them. Everyone's just leaving them to it because they chose let only. Now, what I'd be doing here, and I'd be targeting those because it's a blue ocean. No one else is targeting them. Get in that ocean and start targeting them. So how do you target them, says Darren? Well, you know the answer already. It's via social media. It's by education. It's by webinars and all that sort of stuff getting in there. However, there is a lot of letting agents, and talking about your estate agents as well here, that do lettings on the side. They do not pay any attention to those let-only clients. I would actually start to acquire or say, give me access to your list of let-only clients and I'll give you a percentage of what I convert. So if you've got 100, 200 let-only clients that you've let the property for and done nothing with, I would say, give me access to that database. I will convert them to fully managed and we'll split the fee like this. Because if I've got no money, I'd have to do it that way. If I had money, because I've done the other 2 strategies, I would start acquiring let-only lists. Nobody is buying let-only lists. So I would start acquiring the let-only lists because you'll get them for nothing because they're not really that people aren't generally that interested in them. And you could give them kickbacks on what you convert later on. So I would really focus on let-only to fully managed conversion. The people in the blue ocean, by communicating and talking to them, so you're a let-only landlord, how are you with your compliance? Here's a free download and a full guide of everything you need to know about compliance. They say, brilliant, I've just captured his details. So I can phone him.
Jump in. I just want to get some clarity around the languages. So when you say let-only landlords, Deniz, we're calling them the DIY landlords, right?
Private owners wanting to manage, not use an agent.
Yeah.
Self-managed.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
I just want to jump in very quickly. Deniz, I had a conversation with you some weeks back where we were talking about converting private owners. And quite frankly, I've never really liked private owners. That's just been my attitude. You know,
before you go on, again, Sally, in my top 5 strategies.
Yeah. But let's continue on. So I called you, Deniz, and I said, mate, you had a really good conversion rate of converting private owners. So you go to a private owner that was self-managing and converting them to full management. And yep. I asked you the question, Deniz, what was your conversion rate? And you said, what do I mean? I said, tell me your numbers. Was it, 50%, 40%, 30%? Hell, I'll probably not even get 10% conversion in any success at all. And you said, well, I've got everybody in the 4 years. I signed up everybody except one guy you didn't get in 4 years, and you were sounding puzzled. And so guys, again, I want to talk about the IGT exclusive membership resources. We've put Deniz's full formula, full step-by-step system on how he converted a DIY or a Sally calls a let-only owner to full management. And so you just go to the Grow, Dominate, Influence series. It's session 7, where it goes into private owners, also how to convert Airbnbs, which was very relevant in COVID, but also in the Inject Growth series, Deniz, you've got even a longer version in there. So it's your whole formula on how to convert private owners. So sorry, guys, I didn't mean to pee on your parade there, but amazing strategy. Well done.
But the strategies of your country, our country, America, New Zealand, I've trained this everywhere. And the same, you guys are doing it successfully, which is great. And it's proven. A lot of people go, oh, but they're the worst landlords to get. You know what my opinion is on that? They're just not educated. Your job is to be educating owners. And you said it, by doing webinars, investment seminars and videos, etc. Our job is to educate people why they need our help. They don't know the legislation. I love the bottle of wine. What a great idea.
Bottle of champagne. If you can, right? And that would be the same here. I mean, owners, what can I say about private owners? They think they're good at it. They're not. They got no idea about proper tenant selection. They've got no idea about late rent. I mean, we might start chasing it 1 day behind. They'll start chasing it 21 days behind. And wonder why they've got an eviction.
Just curious, a question for you both. In Australia, New Zealand, if a private landlord sends a notification out in the wrong period of time, whether it's a rent increase or they haven't put the security deposit, the bond down, there is big fines, even for a private owner. It's a big fine. Is that the same?
No, not for serving of notice. No, for serving of notice, the only thing that would happen is if you not put the right dates on it or served the right time or filled it out correctly, you just won't get possession.
You can't get them out.
You run the risk of them being in there for, you hear horror stories of landlords having properties with bad tenants in there for years because they can't get them out.
Rent arrears for like 2-3 years.
Wow.
And here, if you've failed to serve the gas cert right or test the smoke alarm or do the how to rent guide or anything like that, you can't evict them. So there's so many tripwires that they can fall down that they're completely unaware of.
Western Australia is probably the heaviest legislated state I've ever seen in the world. And one of the pieces there, if you're late with a bond, they may give you a warning if you're lucky, but otherwise they will prosecute you. And prosecution means it's probably going to cost you $40,000 or $50,000 in lawyer fees to defend yourself when the department prosecutes you. And if you appeal, and you go up to the next court, well, it's probably going to be $150,000 and they'll put you right through the media. So that's the extreme end of these penalties. And there's a lot of private owners that fly under the radar. And as you said, they just need to know what the penalties are. Deniz, in fact, with the Grow 100 Plus coaching program with the private owners of the form that we're giving away, you actually give a list of the penalties on there. We actually list out all the penalties so we can give that template to private owners. They can see the sting in the tail.
And going a step further than that, what we found works even better than that is to use case studies, local case studies, so that people can really feel like, because they'll still be the people that go, oh, the prosecution and the banning order and whatever. But, if you can find something in your local constituency or council or area, and say, Mr. Blogs from up the road, did you hear about him? And and he lost his property, it's being repossessed. He couldn't be banning order, his prosecution, he's gone to prison, all of these kind of things, and actually find a real case study to be able to arm yourself with, though that you can take it that step further in these conversations with these guys and make it really real, because it is real. We know it's real, but until it happens to them, they won't feel it, right? Unless you make it feel
they don't
real.
have that pain, right? So I mean, the case studies, no doubt, these are videos that you'd be doing and putting on through social media and on your YouTube channels and shooting them out and having them part of your seminars. It's like it's a reverse testimonial, So, and then you get a testimonial from that client that used to be that person, why they came to you, which is awesome in itself. So, converting private owners, I love it. Offering casual lets and converting the casual lets into full-time management. It's an amazing strategy as well. Yeah, that's awesome.
Well done. That's good. So, guys, well, let's wrap this up. I just want to say thank you very much. We think the world of you ladies, absolutely impressed by what you do. But I'd like to, if people want to ask you questions, now your website, agentrainmaker.co.uk, is that right? And your, how would people get in contact with you if they wanted to ask questions about these out of the box thinking strategies that you've really very generously shared tonight? I'm really blown away with this, possibility of acquisitions for free. And it makes common sense to me. There's some people out there that just want to throw you their 10, 15, 20, 25 properties because they want to get their life back and they regret everything that they did to even think that they could manage property. But what's the best way that people can get in contact with you?
The best way to get us is to connect with us on social media, because we're always on social media. So either you could message us on the Agent Rainmaker Facebook page, and myself and Kate, we will both see that, or you can message us privately. So Sally Lawson, Kate Gregory, we're on Facebook. We're also on LinkedIn. So probably don't message me on Twitter. That's probably not the best place, but Facebook and LinkedIn are probably the best 2 places to reach both of us, really.
Let's go to Agent Rainmaker.
Yeah, we'll also tag you in the posts once this is released, so people will see your names direct there as well on our social media posts, which is awesome. And Michael was absolutely devastated. I was on the phone to him minutes before, and he said, "Deniz, I'll be there for the first half." And then I heard his daughter calling out, "Dad, Dad, Dad, we've got to go for a walk, Dad, Dad." And he goes, "Yeah, I'll catch you later tonight."
That's life, isn't it? That's life, and living at home and all that stuff. So, guys, thank you so much. You know, as I said, I really impressed with all that you do. I honestly, there is no one else on the planet that operates the way you guys do. So, you know, really impressed. You're very passionate, very good at marketing, and you know, your results show. So, you know, there's so much to learn from you guys. Thank you for sharing. I know that our viewers and our audience are going to love you guys. And we hope to, you know, one day bring you to Australia, you know.
When COVID
wait.
Sally and Kate always wants to get to South Bank. I told her I'd take her through South Bank there in Brisbane. It's absolutely beautiful walking through there at night time.
And there's a Melbourne version too, if you ever get down to Melbourne and South Bank. But anyway, thank you guys. Thank you so much. And really appreciate everything that you've shared. And thank you everyone also for tuning in.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.